For a police officer, the silence of a late-night patrol is often a deceptive calm. But what if that silence is broken by a call that only you can hear, from a unit that doesn't exist? This is the story of Officer Miller. Officer Miller was a veteran of the Minneapolis Police Department, a patrol officer who knew every street, every alley, every whispered secret of his beat. He'd seen his share of strange things, but he trusted his training, his partner, and the reassuring crackle of his radio. He never imagined that one ordinary night patrol would lead him into a chilling conversation with a ghost broadcasting from a patrol car long gone. It was 3 a.m., and the city was mostly asleep. Officer Miller was on solo patrol, his car, Unit 417, gliding silently through residential streets. The air was cold, and the only sound was the low hum of his engine and the occasional static burst from his police radio. Suddenly, a voice crackled through his radio. It was faint, distorted by static, but unmistakably a dispatcher's voice. *** Unit 417, do you copy? Officer down. Officer down. ***. Miller frowned. His call sign was 417, but he wasn't down. And no, other units had acknowledged the call. He grabbed his mic. *Dispatch, this is 417. I copy. Who is the officer down? Give me coordinates. The dispatcher's voice, now clearer but filled with a strange, profound weariness, replied. *** Unit 417. Officer Miller. You are the officer down, ***. Then, the radio erupted in a cacophony of static and a piercing, agonizing scream, abruptly cut short. Miller ripped his mic from his mouth, his heart pounding. He tried to call dispatch again frantically. *Dispatch. This is 417, what was that?** The radio remained silent. His phone showed no missed calls or messages. The other police units on the air were discussing a routine traffic stop, oblivious. Miller checked his dashboard clock. It was exactly 3:17 a.m. He tried to rationalize it. A prank. A rogue signal. But the distinct mention of his own name, his unit number, and that chilling scream sent a wave of cold dread through him. Over the next few nights, the calls returned. Always at precisely 3:17 a.m. Always the same distorted voice, sometimes a dispatcher, sometimes a partner, sometimes his own voice, calmly, chillingly repeating instructions. *** Unit 417. Proceed to Elm Street and Willow Avenue. Shots fired, ***, or *** Unit 417. Suspect fleeing on foot. Warehouse District, ***. Always calls for him to locations that were either abandoned or where an old, unsolved crime had taken place decades ago. And each time, after the distorted call, the phantom scream would follow, always ending abruptly. Miller started researching old police records. He found a report from 1987, Unit 417, Officer David Miller, no relation, but the same name, responding to a shots-fired call at a warehouse. Never reported back, vanished without a trace. His patrol car, Unit 417, was found abandoned and riddled with bullet holes on Elm Street and Willow Avenue. The time of last contact, 3:17 a.m. Cold, horrifying realization dawned on Officer Miller. He wasn't just hearing a ghost call. He was listening to a loop of a dying man's last moments, a broadcast from a phantom patrol car, echoing through time. And he was being summoned to the scene of his namesake's demise. The climax arrived on a night when Miller felt particularly drained. He was driving his usual beat, his eyes constantly on the clock, dreading 3:17 a.m. As the time approached, the air in his cab grew icy cold. His radio, usually quiet, suddenly crackled with intense static. Then the voice, terrifyingly clear now, came through, a desperate whisper from his speakers. Asterisk asterisk 417 dot dot dot. They're here dot dot asterisk asterisk. Miller's heart hammered. He gripped the steering wheel, his knuckles white. The radio then filled with the sound of rapid, echoing gunshots, followed by a desperate gasp. And then, his own voice distorted, but unmistakably. His own, whispering, "Officer down dot dot Miller dot dot terror, seized Miller." He screamed, slamming on the brakes. His rig skidded to a halt. He looked wildly around his cab. Nothing. But the air was heavy, thick with the scent of old blood and ozone. He looked at his dashboard clock. It read 3:17 a.m. He slowly, fearfully looked in his rearview mirror. Nothing on the empty street behind him. But then, reflected in the dark glass of the building across the street, he saw it. A faint, almost translucent patrol car, Unit 417, its lights flickering, parked at the corner of Elm Street and Willow Avenue. And standing beside it, a shadowy figure, indistinguishable, its form radiating despair. Miller didn't wait. He threw his car into drive and sped off, leaving his beat, leaving the chilling echoes behind. He resigned from the force the next day, citing burnout. He sometimes tells friends he just couldn't handle the stress anymore. But the way he flinches at the sight of a police car with the number 417, or the crackle of a distant radio tells a different, much darker story. He knows some calls are meant only for the dead, and some sirens echo eternally, forever guiding a phantom patrol to its final fatal destination. For a police officer, evidence tells a story. But what if the evidence itself starts telling a story that was never meant to be heard, from a source that shouldn't exist? This is the story of Officer Ramirez. Officer Ramirez was a diligent, by-the-book detective working for the LAPD. He prided himself on his meticulous attention to detail, his ability to uncover truth from the smallest clues. He often worked late, poring over old case files. He never imagined that a routine check of the precinct's evidence room would expose him to a chilling collection, whispering secrets from cold, inanimate objects. The precinct's evidence room was a labyrinth of metal shelves, filled with thousands of sealed bags and boxes, mute testaments to countless crimes. It was cold, sterile, and always kept under strict lock and key. Officer Ramirez was doing a late-night inventory check, a task he found oddly soothing. He was scanning barcodes when he noticed something odd. A small, unmarked wooden box, not in any bag, sat on a shelf designated for unidentified items. It was old, intricately carved, and felt unnaturally cold to the touch. He checked the log. No record. Curiosity piqued, he picked up the box. It had no lid. Inside, nestled on a bed of dry, crumbling leaves, were several small, mundane objects. A child's worn red rubber ball, a tarnished silver locket, and a single petrified bird's claw. As he touched them, a faint, almost imperceptible whisper seemed to emanate from the box, just on the edge of hearing, like a multitude of voices speaking at once. Ramirez immediately dropped the box back onto the shelf, a prickle of unease turning into cold dread. He tried to dismiss it, old building noises a draft. But the whispers persisted, faint and sibilant, now seeming to come from the entire shelf, from the rows of sealed evidence bags. He thought he heard them say, "Help us." He secured the evidence room, double-checking the locks. He tried to explain it to the sergeant in the morning, but was met with a skeptical look and a suggestion to get more sleep. But Ramirez couldn't shake the feeling. Over the next few nights, the incidents escalated. He'd find the evidence room door mysteriously ajar when he returned for his shifts. Objects would be subtly moved on the shelves, and the whispers grew louder, clearer, sometimes punctuated by faint, mournful sobs or desperate gasps emanating from the rows of evidence bags related to old cold cases of missing persons, unsolved homicides. He knew these were supposed to be silent. The climax arrived on a particularly dark night. Ramirez was the only one in the precinct building, save for a skeleton crew on dispatch. He decided he had to confront the anomaly. He cautiously entered the evidence room, his flashlight cutting through the gloom. The whispers were deafening now, a chorus of agony. The air was frigid. He walked directly to the unidentified items shelf. The small wooden box was gone. His eyes darted around, searching. Then he saw it. The contents of the box, the red rubber ball, the locket, the bird's claw, were now lying on the cold concrete floor, scattered around the open mouth of a large, black, gaping hole that had appeared beneath the shelf. It looked like a raw, bleeding wound in the floor, and from it, an intense cold billowed out, carrying the faint metallic scent of old blood. Terror seized Ramirez. He stumbled backward, his hand fumbling for his sidearm. From the black hole, a low guttural moan emanated, followed by the sound of something large and heavy dragging itself slowly upwards from the depths. The whispers escalated into a frantic, chaotic scream. "Don't let IT out." Suddenly, a long, incredibly thin, shadowy arm, slick with an unseen substance, slowly emerged from the hole, its fingers unnaturally long and skeletal, reaching towards him, beckoning. Ramirez screamed. He didn't wait. He turned and ran blindly out of the evidence room, through the silent precinct, not stopping until he was out in the cold night air, gasping for breath. The echoes of the screams and the dragging sound burned into his mind. He resigned from the force the next day, citing unforeseen circumstances. He sometimes tells people he just couldn't handle the old cases anymore, but the way he flinches at unexplained cold spots, or the faint scent of old metal, tells a different, much darker story. He knows that some evidence rooms hold secrets that are alive, and some cases never truly go cold. For a police officer, an empty highway means peace. But what if that empty highway is a trap, and what's pursuing you isn't human, and never stops? This is the story of Officer Jenkins. Officer Jenkins was a young, eager state trooper assigned to patrol a lonely stretch of I-10 through the vast, arid deserts of Arizona. He loved the quiet solitude, the endless skies, the sense of being the only authority for hundreds of miles. He thought the biggest threats were heat-stroke and bored truckers. He never imagined that a routine night patrol would lead him into an impossible chase, pursued by a phantom that belonged to the desert itself. It was a moonless night, the kind where the stars seemed impossibly bright, yet the ground remained in absolute darkness. Officer Jenkins was on solo patrol, his patrol car, Unit 703, gliding smoothly along the blacktop. The air was still, heavy with the scent of creosote and dust. Around 2 a.m., his radar detector chirped. Speeding vehicle. He checked his speedometer. Nothing. The highway ahead was empty. He frowned, assuming a malfunction. But then, he saw it. A faint, distant red light shimmering on the horizon, far ahead of him, moving rapidly. Too fast for any car. He accelerated, curiosity overriding caution. The red light seemed to recede, maintaining its impossible speed. He pushed his cruiser faster, the engine roaring, the speedometer climbing. But the red light remained just out of reach, always ahead, a silent glowing beacon in the vast darkness. He called dispatch. "Dispatch, this is Unit 703. I have a visual on a rapidly moving object, unknown origin. Looks like a single red light, extremely fast. Requesting backup or air support." The dispatcher's voice crackled. "Unit 703, we show no other vehicles within 50 miles of your location. No air support available. What is your 20? Jenkins's heart pounded. He was alone, and something was out there. He pushed his cruiser past 120 miles per hour, a desperate pursuit. The red light seemed to respond, accelerating even faster, becoming a blurry streak on the horizon. He noticed something else. The highway seemed to stretch endlessly. The mile markers weren't changing. He was driving at impossible speeds, but the landscape remained the same, endless, flat desert. Suddenly, the red light stopped, dead ahead, directly in the middle of the highway. It expanded, revealing a tall, incredibly thin, shadowy figure, almost translucent, its form vaguely human, its head tilted, watching him. The red light radiated from its chest, pulsating rhythmically. Terror seized Officer Jenkins. He slammed on the brakes, the cruiser skidding violently, its tires screaming on the asphalt, barely avoiding hitting the figure. He stared at it through his windshield, his breath fogging. The figure stood perfectly still, utterly silent, radiating a profound cold. He fumbled for his sidearm, pulling it from its holster. He pointed it at the figure. "Stay where you are." "Police," he yelled, his voice trembling. The figure didn't move. Instead, from its shadowy form, a low, guttural growl emanated, vibrating through the ground, through the car. The red light intensified, pulsating with a dark, malevolent energy. Then, it slowly raised a long skeletal arm, its fingers unnaturally long, beckoning him forward. Jenkins screamed. He didn't wait. He threw the cruiser into reverse, slamming on the accelerator, spinning wildly on the highway. He drove backward, desperately trying to escape the apparition. But as he looked in his rearview mirror, he saw it. The shadowy figure was still there, now gliding silently after him, moving at an impossible speed, its red light burning, always pursuing. He drove for hours, fear his only companion, his eyes fixed on the rearview mirror. The figure never stopped. It never slowed. It was always there, a constant, silent pursuit, its red light burning holes in the darkness. The highway remained endless. When the sun finally began to rise, painting the sky in a soft, mocking pink, the figure vanished. The red light faded. The highway's mile markers began to move again. He was hundreds of miles from where he started, out of gas, stranded in a desolate stretch of desert. Officer Jenkins was found hours later, disheveled and incoherent. He resigned from the force, citing a psychological inability to perform duties. He now lives in a quiet town, far from any major highways. He sometimes jokes about getting lost in the desert, but the way he flinches at the sight of a single red light in the dark, or the sound of a distant car horn, tells a different, much darker story. He knows that some pursuits never end, and some figures from the desert never give up the chase.